Psychotherapist at Psych Connect, Singapore. My work revolves around using art to help people of all ages, be it young babies all the way to the elderly, to express themselves and find a sense of well-being in their lives, be it emotional well-being, social well-being, or physical well-being. And sometimes I get to work with parents and children to support them in bonding together in meaningful ways through art and play, which is something I love doing, so I am very excited to be here with you today. So I will be sharing 3 very simple and practical tips that I hope will transform the way you can engage with your child at home. Now, before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that this is a very stressful time for a lot of us with the coronavirus. Some of us may be working from home now. Some of us may have children that are usually in school where the schools are canceled and they're home with us. So generally, a lot of us will be feeling anxiety and trying to be dealing with the change. And our children can sense that. Even very young children can sense that. So they may be feeling stressed and anxious as well. And they may not have the words to express what they're feeling. So really, the best thing we can do for our children now is to provide space for them to play and space for them to do art. Because art and play is the natural language of children. That's how they make sense of the world around them. That's how they express themselves. And that's how they cope with stressful and difficult experiences. And really, when our children are playing, we can learn a lot about their world and what they're going through. And hopefully also as parents, as we play and do art with our children, it's also a time for us to let go of the stress for a few minutes and relax together and bond as a family. Okay, moving on. Our 3 points. Number 1, quality time. Now we all know this and we all hear this, but it's easy to forget. Now our children, no matter how young they are, they have this ability to know if we're giving them full attention or not. Even very young children. And so my challenge for us today and in this period is to try to spend at least 5 minutes of undivided attention with our children. And that makes a huge difference. It could be 5 minutes where we play with our children, 5 minutes where we check in with our children, and just 5 minutes of really being in the moment together with our children. If you have more time, that's great. But if not, even just a short amount of time to connect together is wonderful. Okay, that's tip number 1, quality time. Tip number 2, follow and lead. Now, what do I mean by follow and lead? Now, in psychotherapy, we talk a lot about attunement and mirroring. And this is what it may look like in art. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Now, I'm taking egg. Eggs are quite nice for very young children to grip. They have a hard time holding a crayon. Now, please, with very young children, try to buy non-toxic and washable materials. Very young children have a tendency of trying to eat things, so we want to make sure we keep them safe. Okay, let's come back to our topic, follow and lead. Let's say your child is in a scribbling stage. So it's just more mark making. So let's say your child is tapping. I don't know, maybe your child is 1+, a year and a half. Now, as a parent, if I see my child doing that, perhaps I would like to take another crayon. Sorry. I'm going to take red. I'll take red. Now, I could do it on another paper, on the same paper, and I will start imitating what my child is doing. Now, what am I telling my child when I do this? Well, I am telling my child, I notice what you're doing. What you're doing is important, and what you're doing has value. And I am doing the same thing. Now, when someone is imitating what we're doing, it helps us bond, and it helps create happy hormones that help us connect with each other. Okay? This is something we do very naturally, very unconsciously, especially with babies. Maybe a baby is doing a cute face, then any adult, no matter how tough the person is, will usually respond to the baby in a similar way. Or maybe mommy is smiling, baby will smile. Maybe mommy is having a scared face, then baby will do something somewhat similar. So it's a very natural thing we do. And it's just how we connect with people Maybe, I don't know if you can remember your dating years, and maybe a long time ago. But perhaps one of the guy is doing a bit of a side thing with his head. We do kind of strange things when we're in love. And then the girl may automatically kind of also do a little side thing and side smile. And these are things we do often without realizing it. But with our children, especially young children, we can be very conscious about it because we know it actually works. Now, let's go back to our drawing. So our child has been doing this. We have also been doing this for a long time. Maybe I feel like, oh, I wonder if my child will try something else. So I will take my crayon and I'll do something different. Now, if you notice, it's still a similar kind of level. It's still scribbling. So I'm not doing something too complex. I want to do something that my child could actually achieve. Now, what could happen is my child, who has the blue crayon, he may have changed colors, I don't know. My child may follow. Now, if my child follows me, oh, then great. My child is quite socially aware. He noticed what I'm doing. And my child also learned a new technique and expanded on his creative vocabulary. Now, maybe my child is really not interested in my lines, and that's fine. If after a while this doesn't go anywhere, then you can always go back to tapping. Okay? Also learned a new technique and expanded on his creative vocabulary. Now, maybe my child is really not interested in my lines, and that's fine. If after a while this doesn't go anywhere, then you can always go back to tapping. Okay? Now, for young children, we don't have to be very discreet on how we follow them. Maybe if your child is slightly older, I don't know, maybe 4-year-old, you may not want to do exactly the same thing he's drawing. I don't know. Let me put this down, sorry. So we'll get a different crayon for older kids. So maybe your child is doing, I don't know, a flower. Okay? Now, if you do exactly the same flower, your child may say, oh, mommy or daddy or whoever, why are you copying me? So you don't have to do exactly the same thing. But what you probably want to be conscious of is to try to do something in a similar level of difficulty. You don't want to make a flower that's so elaborate that your child feels discouraged and thinks, oh, my drawing is not good enough. I don't know how to draw like mommy. And maybe if you like, you can also kind of stay in the same type of theme. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I want to do a tree. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's for drawing. I will show you another very simple drawing activity that you can do with young children as well. Maybe not babies, but maybe, I don't know, 4-year-olds again. Now, if your child likes drama and is a bit the drama king or the drama queen, you may want to bring your crayon on a walk. Now, for this activity, I'm going to pretend I'm an animal, and we're going to take turns. So let's see, one person starts, and maybe the ant is going on a walk. So maybe it's just little marks of the ant going on the walk. Then the other person will follow and make, oh, this is how your ant walks. Okay, the ant is going on a walk. Now maybe it's the parent's turn, and the parent will say, okay, I'm the elephant. And then the child will follow, oh, the elephant. And you can take turns like that to follow and lead each other. This is quite a good creative activity. It makes children use their imagination and kind of wonder what it would look like on paper. A lot of children quite enjoy this, especially if they're into drama. This is something quite simple to do. You could also do weather. Maybe the storm is like this. Maybe the rain is like this. Maybe it's even feelings. I wonder what happy looks like. That may be for slightly older children. I wonder what sad looks like. I wonder what angry looks like. I wonder what fast looks like or slow looks like. And this all is very simple and can use the follow and lead strategy. Now, maybe you don't have time to get materials out. No problem. You can just do a dance version. Animals are quite easy to do and quite popular. So maybe you're taking turns to do an animal dance. This could be done with one parent and one child, or it could be done with a big family, several people. So maybe someone will start to do the chicken. Now I can't see what you're doing, but I hope you're making a chicken too. and following my chicken lead. Now when we do this and someone else follows what we're doing, it's actually very validating and makes us feel very good, especially for children, but not only, for adults too. Now let's say it's the next person's turn. The next person may do, I don't know, a butterfly. And then everyone will follow and do the butterfly. So this is something very simple that also uses the same strategy. I'll share one more exercise you can do with this whole follow and lead technique. And ideally, you could have a very big piece of paper, which I'm afraid I ran out of. But if you have a big piece of paper, you could put it on the floor, or you could put it on the wall. And one reason why big papers could be nice is sometimes it's good for children to use their arms and stretch, especially if you're stuck home and you can't go out because of the lockdown. Most of our children have very high energy levels, so you can do some art activity where they can move and stretch more. Okay, so let me grab my paper again. And we're just going to bring our crayons for a walk. It could be 2 people, it could be 3 people, 4 people doing it together. As long as your paper is big enough, it's fine. So let's say I'm following my child now, or my child's following me. We can take turns. So the crayon is going on a walk, and the green crayon will follow the pink crayon. It could be lines. It doesn't really matter. We'll just follow each other. Now, this is a very simple activity. If as a parent you feel very overwhelmed thinking about art, this is very simple to do. And really helps you relax together as well. I had one little girl I worked with that was very, very shy, very closed up. Didn't laugh very much. But when I did these kinds of follow and lead activity with her, I used to do it on a big board. It was a big space and she could stretch. Then she just loved it so much. Her whole face would lift up, her whole body would lift up, and she would have this huge laugh. And it was just really wonderful to see. This is another very simple follow and lead activity you can do. So even if you have little time for prep, or even if you're kind of intimidated by art, which, by the way, if you want to really enjoy art with your child, you need to learn to not stress yourself too much and just learn to be playful again. There's this famous quote from Picasso that says that all children are artists, but the problem is to remain an artist once you grow up. So if we want to really enjoy art with our children, we also need to learn to not put too much stress on ourselves and also enjoy the process. All right, so that's tip number 2, follow and lead. Now, my last tip for today is just to be kind to yourself, be gentle on yourself. Sometimes we think that we have to do these really complicated activities. Maybe if you want to find an art idea, you spend hours on the internet looking for something to do with your child. Maybe you do all these complicated props and you just spend so much energy and so much time. Now, ideally your child will enjoy what you're doing. Sometimes we spend so much effort and so much energy and our child's like, this is boring. Or our child has no interest, or maybe does it for 1 minute. And then sometimes internally we can feel like, you ungrateful child! Do you know how much work this was? Do you know how much time I spent doing this? So please, during this period where things are very stressful, you don't need to add more stress to yourself. Unless you have the resources and the energy and you really want to do complex activities, and that's great. But if not, you can keep things very, very simple. Play in art doesn't have to be complicated, and play in art doesn't need to have very complex setup as well. So those are my 3 tips for today. Number 1, quality time. Number 2, follow and lead as a very powerful yet simple strategy to bond together and just find a sense of joy. And number 3 is be gentle with yourself and be realistic with yourself. And one thing I forgot to add in this category is that it is usually easier if you work with something that your child is naturally interested in. In art, there's many, many things you could do. I mean, we could spend days talking about bonding strategies and bonding activities. Some kids may like more Play-Doh. Some kids may like to make stories. I don't know, some kids may like fine arts and using different materials. Some kids may like painting. Some kids may be more into objects and building things. So usually your life is a little bit easier if you find something that naturally motivates your child. So one last time, quality time, follow and lead, and be gentle on yourself. Now, if you'd like to have more information on the work we do and how we can help you, you can come to our website, www.psychconnect, that is PSYCHCONNECT.SG. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a happy art making and a happy bonding. Thank you.